So in this segment, we're going to be talking about post-Brexit government reforms to cut red tape, face civil service backlash for creating more red tape. Vote for Brexit, have more bureaucracy. Yeah, I mean, I read through this article and I was trying to figure out what was going on here, and I felt more and more stupid kind of reading it. It was very, very bizarre what the government are trying to do here. So post-Brexit plans to cut red tape have triggered an interdepartmental civil service spat over claims they're creating more red tape. And, I've covered before how civil servants do push back on the occasional thing. I had some douchebag in the comments talking about, oh yeah, civil servants are always causing problems. I'm just like, don't know about that, chief. According to Whitehall Minutes, two government departments have voiced concerns over plans initially proposed by Frost and Quetting to force a review on policies after 2 years. So after a policy is introduced, they'll go through a review every 2 years, right? Or after 2 years. And that obviously creates more red tape, more bureaucracy for civil servants because they have to go back and review the outcomes of a specific policy. It was hoped the proposals would help business, but by cutting needless regulation, whether civil servants to warn the requirement of increased administrative burdens on departments because they're going to have to take time out of their day instead of looking at new regulations, they're going to be going over old ones. And there's a lot of impact assessment reports you'd have to look at. You'd have to look at the old impact assessment reports of any policies you want to implement, and then you'd have to do new impact assessment reports to see how the implementation has gone. I'm not necessarily against this sort of stuff here because I think it's important that certain regulations go through audits kind of thing, but you have the National Audit Office to do that sort of stuff. According to the minutes, some departments are concerned about the burden of administrative resources required to run the new system, especially as they're being asked to do more post-implementation reviews. And of course, the civil service is being cut a lot. That's another problem. So it means there's less of them and they have to do more work, which it doesn't work. In no industry, no business can you cut the amount of staff you have, and then ask them to do more work. That's how you run into trouble, big trouble. Especially because their union exists. They're unionised, they're very well educated, and they have access to top resources. And there'd be probably a lot of private sector people wanting to take them on. The plans initially proposed as part of the Better Regulatory Framework are seen as one of the central attempts by government to cut down on regulation and embrace a more limited state post-Brexit. Currently, regulations are required to be reviewed within 5 years of implementation if the regulation is considered to have a significant impact on business. Again, I think 5 years is a bit too long. I think maybe 3 years would make sense if it's like a major piece of work. So I kind of see where the government are coming from in a sense, but if you're going to cut the civil service, it doesn't make any sense, especially when it's every 2 years. These policies are going to have to get checked, even the minor ones, and that's a lot more red tape. The reform of government regulation was part of a wider attempt to bring in a common law approach to regulation, moving away from a more codified EU law system. I don't know what that means, but assuming it means kind of a more reading between the lines kind of legislation rather than hard and fast rules, which, if you're me, I prefer the hard and fast rules. Under Frost and Quetting's plans, policy reviews will be brought forward to evaluate the first 2 years of the regulation's performance, with findings published in the third year post-implementation, with a mandatory earlier review point will ensure that attention is paid to the extent of success of the measure. I mean, this is a lot of work here. This is a lot of work for a lot of regulations as well. If you think how much the government actually passes, you're asking for the civil servants to do a lot of work every 2 years, and that's on new pieces. So they're going to have constant moving regulation as well. This will be a nightmare. This is so stupid. In notes taken at the most recent board meeting, the new proposals will take a significant amount of department time to implement and would require quick turnaround times. Again, you're going to push out a lot of civil servants doing these sorts of reforms. This is wild. This is absolutely wild. It's such a bad idea, such a bad idea to do this. They are going to be creating a lot more red tape because everything's going to face review, and then a minister's going to have to actually look at that review and come up with changes there. And then after, if they pass new legislation based on the reports of the civil servants, it goes back. It's a constant cycle. It's genuinely a bad idea to do it like this, especially when you're cutting civil servants' numbers. You're going to have them reviewing older legislation all the time rather than coming up with new legislation on different things that can occur. A very stupid thing for Quetting and Frost to do, because they'll come up with big ideas and they'll get the civil servants and other people to come up with details. A pretty sad existence in my opinion. This is dumb from those two, but they're not the two smartest guys in the room. They never are. Smartest people even. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one.